Welcome to Ladders, where we break down the guys who are rising up your fantasy football waiver wires and who we would drop them to bring in, including, yes, some pretty grimy quarterbacks. I am USA Today's Christian DeAndre. He is a Rhode Island scumbag, Mike Yash Boyajian. Yash, how you feeling this week?
As my broken record, I'm still doing great. My voice is still not quite returned from my visit at Foxborough on Thursday night. I don't know if you know this, but screaming MVP for 4 straight quarters will wear out the vocal cords pretty quick. So it was a great environment. The place was rocking, and it was a lot of fun to go see the Pats in person. And it was the Jets, so it was pretty much a guaranteed W walking in the door anyway.
And then the Friday afterwards at school, I'm assuming it was movie day for all your students.
Well, switched the math this year, so I had to get a little bit more creative, but it was a very leisurely Friday. We'll just put it that way.
I mean, students must have loved it. Yep. Just like we are loving that Drake May glow up. We're going to talk about quarterbacks who aren't nearly on his level. But first, we're going to start with a running back who may have carried you into the promised land in week 11. That's right, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. RB3 turned RB1, Sean Tucker. What we do with these latter segments, we talk about a guy who's about on his level when it comes to ownership in fantasy leagues. Go up a notch, and talk about where we'd want him in our lineup. First man up, a guy who's also about 30 to 40% owned, Kenny G himself, Kenneth Gainwell of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Kenny G had a huge game against the Bengals, so it barely counts, but still, the points were there. Yash, do you want Sean Tucker or Kenneth Gainwell on your roster?
I like Sean Tucker in this situation. I think that he's going to play more of a role as we move down the stretch of the season. Gainwell is also going to have opportunity, but I think Tucker is going to capitalize on the playing time he's been given. Gainwell, unfortunately, is going to have to be dealing with Jaylen Warren, who sounds like he's going to be back relatively soon. So he's probably getting regulated as early as next week.
Yeah, it's a situation where, one, you have Warren there, who is awesome, a grimy runner in the best possible way. The one area where Gainwell will have an edge is in targets. He's had 8 targets last week, 7 catches, touchdown through the air. And Mason Rudolph does seem to have that rapport with them, even though, maybe it's just the twos going in practice. That's how they know each other so well. At the same time, he's not going to get those carries. Even if he is in the featured back role, he's not going to break double-digit carries. He's not that guy. He's your pass pro. He's your third down back. I want Sean Tucker in this situation. Next man up. He is 67% owned in Yahoo leagues, and he has been the key to not quite a revival, but an improvement in the Kansas City running game. Old man Kareem Hunt, 30 years old, a miracle. How is he doing this? Yash, do you want the young Syracuse grad Sean Tucker, or do you want the old Toledo grad Kareem Hunt?
I'll take the young Syracuse grad and Tucker here. This is kind of, I know we like to make this joke a lot, but the Spider-Man meme, the two of them seem they seem very similar in terms of what their roles are. And they're both goal line backs for their respective teams. Both of them are dealing with multiple competition from their other running backs in their respective backfields. So in this case, I will take the younger, more explosive back in Sean Tucker.
If you asked me earlier in the season, just based right away, it's what we saw in the preseason, I would say Sean Tucker. But this has been a revival year for Kareem Hunt. He's 15.8 EPA on the ground. That's the highest of his year. Those are expected points added. He has accumulated 58 rushing yards over expected. That's the best mark of his career as well. This is a guy who's going out there and really exceeding expectations. And, I mean, we talked about Sean Tucker getting those goal line carries. He's had 6 in the past 3 weeks, but almost a quarter of Kareem Hunt's carries have come in the red zone. He's going to get a ton of end zone opportunities. 3 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks, doing a little bit more in the passing game as well. And yes, he's been vital to the revival of the Chiefs' run game. So in this case, I think I do like Kareem Hunt a little bit more fending off returning Isaiah Pacheco than I do Sean Tucker fending off a returning Bucky Irving.
Fair point.
Finally, let's get a little bold with it. Let's talk about a guy that you and I know and tolerate. Mr. Fumbleitis himself, Ramondre Stevenson of the New England Patriots. Stevenson 75% owned, but been on the bench the last 3 weeks, dealing with a toe injury. Yash, do you want to bet on a Ramondre Stevenson revival, or are you buying Sean Tucker's glow up?
The only thing that scares me about this one is Mike Vrabel's affinity for Ramondre Stevenson, because we all know that Travion Henderson looks much, much better than Ramondre has at any point during the season. But who's to say that he doesn't just show up and it's like, all right, I know you're plodding along for 14 yards on 10 carries, but goal line work's still going to be yours, buddy. So it's yours to lose. 8 or 9 more fumbles were good. So I love Tucker, but I can see it being handed right back to Ramondre. So in this case, I would not drop Ramondre for Tucker just because that is very much in the realm of possibilities. Is just him reclaiming that goal line job. And, that's worth plenty in the Patriots offense right now.
Yeah, we know Mike Vrabel loves a big, beefy back with breakaway speed. The problem is Ramondre Stevenson gets those goal line carries, and he kind of sucks at them. Let's be honest. 11 goal line carries, only three touchdowns this season. He's dealing with a toe injury. That's going to be a nagging situation. He's trying to fend off Travion Henderson, who has looked like the better back, both as a rusher and as a receiver. Stevenson's an above-average player. As long as he's holding on to the ball, he is an asset. At the same time, I don't know how you justify keeping him in there, even if you are Mike Vrabel, even if you are undeniably football-pilled. I think I would rather roll with the 3-headed tailback monster in Tampa Bay than trust Ramondre Stevenson, who at any given moment can butterfingers the ball away and get tossed onto the bench. Next man up, the man who, if you were bold enough to start him, saved your fantasy season, or although if you were starting Bryce Young, it probably wasn't in a position to be saved to begin with. But yes, the Carolina Panthers' former number 1 overall pick, third-year starter, man who comes alive against the Atlanta Falcons, 448 yards, 3 passing touchdowns. Bryce Young. We're going to take Bryce Young. We're going to stack him up against some other guys you might be plucking off the waiver wire for help in week 12. And let's start with a guy who might be getting a little extended run as usual because he's Mike Tomlin's backup huckleberry, Mason Rudolph. Josh, would you roll the dice with a Mason Rudolph explosion, or are you betting Bryce Young can be even half as good as he was in week 11 going forward?
Oh, man. I guess I'll roll with Bryce Young here, simply because the Steelers don't have a receiver as talented as Ted McMillan. Yeah. Kind of cover up those warts from Bryce Young. So I do think that was the best game Young, and for all intents and purposes, McMillan as well is going to have this season. But I'd rather chase that upside than Mason Rudolph. We already know what Mason Rudolph is. And we already know what an Arthur Smith offense looks like. So I don't like either one of those things. So I'm just gonna roll with the unknown and a potential Bryce Young revival for the last third of the season. And I'm just cross my fingers and hope it works out.
Yeah, these are 3 no-win situations we're dealing with here. Because again, our fulcrum is Bryce Young. Yeah. But you talked about knowing what Mason Rudolph is. You know who else knows who he is Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin knows he's a guy you can throw downfield with some success. He knows he can move around the pocket a little bit better than Aaron Rodgers. And that means that you won't have that quick hit offense that has been so vital to the Steelers early on. Aaron Rodgers misses time, and all of a sudden, Rodgers are going to have a little bit more of an opportunity to develop. As a guy who scrambled a little bit in Tennessee last season, he could do it again behind the Steelers line, and that means DK Metcalf, frustrated, double covered, been targeted close to the line of scrimmage pretty much all season. All of a sudden, he can fly a little bit more. He can settle in under those passes. I think I want Mason Rudolph for that exact reason, because he does open up a few more pages in the Steelers playbook, even if he's going to throw a bunch of incompletions to get there.
Okay.
Next man up, we are going through the backup turned QB1 ranks with Marcus Mariota. Solid in a way that has not mattered. 213 passing yards in all of his games, or at least his last 3. So, Yash, which iffy, shaky, formerly hyped up quarterback would you want in your lineup, Bryce Young or Marcus Mariota?
Oh boy. Bryce Young, I guess. I know. Unfortunately, I sat through that 9:30 a.m. game on Sunday for a part of it, and it was gross. And Marcus Mariota was running that offense against what has been statistically one of the weakest defenses this year in the NFL, and the Miami Dolphins. I mean, pretty much everybody has a good week against the Dolphins, and the Commanders did not. So I really don't have much faith in what the Commanders are running out there. Whether it be the running game can't get going, or Mariota just can't capitalize on. Debo had a decent game, but other than that,
no Bill Trosky merit love.
No. Bill is another one. I don't know what happened there, but I think Washington just in general is cashed. So I'm just going to stay away from any of the Commanders at this point. So I'll begrudgingly take Bryce Young here once again.
I like Bryce Young because he does have some upside, but also this is a man who, when he crashes out, he crashes all the way out, like single digits from your quarterback performance. You're not going to get that from Mariota because he's going to scramble. He's going to pick up like 30 to 40 yards on the ground. He's going to throw for 200 plus with a touchdown. He's going to be steady and stable. He's going to get you like 15 to 20 points. And if you are comfortable with that, if you are okay, if you are pretty much entrenched in your playoff spot right now and you just need to fill in for 1 week, go with Mariota. If you are throwing Hail Marys and you are betting it all on Bryce Young, well, one, things are going terribly for you, and I'm sorry to hear that. But two, there's a chance he's going to fulfill that. He's got a higher ceiling than Marcus Mariota. So it is definitely going to be a situational spot, but I like 80% of me is like, just give me that Mariota stability.
Yeah.
And speaking of backup quarterbacks who understand the assignment at the very least,
yes,
the new NFL record holder for most completions in a single game, beating out Jared Goff and our boy, Drew Bledsoe. Jacoby Brissett, former New England Patriot, turned Dolphin, turned Patriot again, turned Brown, turned
Colts.
He's with the Arizona Cardinals now.
The Colts
rocked, and he threw the ball a million times. So, Yash, do you want Bryce Young? Do you want Jacoby Brissett in Arizona?
Give me the journeyman Brissett here. He's been holding his own in Arizona for the most part. He's got some great weapons to throw. I mean, you've got Trey McBride, who is just a absolute monster. You got Marvin Harrison Jr. when he returns, and apparently they don't even need him because Michael Wilson apparently just morphs into Marvin Harrison Jr. when given the opportunity. So,
see, I don't think you can say that because Michael Wilson actually delivered on his promise while we're still waiting on Maserati Marv to do something.
Marv's looked pretty good with Jacoby out there. I mean, when at least he can see him over his lineman to at least give him a shot at some point. It's so in this particular case, I'll just go with Brissett here. He's put together a string of usable games. So if you need somebody, I'd rather just take the chance for Brissett. He's got I'd say a higher floor, and dare we say a higher ceiling as well. So it's possible, but I'd roll the dice with him.
I agree on both counts there. And the situation benefits Jacoby Brissett as well because his run game has been shredded by injuries and ineffective. He's trailing often, so he's throwing the ball a ton, and he's competent. And in those situations, you're not asking him to be a fourth quarter hero because that's not who Jacoby Brissett is. You get him in a game-winning situation, he is going to crumble like a breadstick skyscraper. So this is a guy who can go out there and put up those Blake Bortles empty stats, which, it doesn't mean anything for the Cardinals, but for fantasy, hell yeah, go out, get Jacoby Brissett. I mean, he's clearly the best option among all these guys. He's probably a better, safer option than a guy like Trevor Lawrence or maybe even a Sam Darnold right now. Final ladder belongs to Green Bay Packers wide receiver 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. Who the hell knows? Christian Watson, he was Jordan Love's huckleberry in week 11. Well, Malik Willis's first with that crazy touchdown catch. And then Jordan Love's with an even crazier one through double coverage. So, Yash, Christian Watson right now, 34% owned. Would you want him or the guy we were just talking about, 47% owned?
I'll take Christian Watson
Okay.
I just the thing with Wilson, it was more likely that Marvin Harrison Jr. Contributed to
Yes.
Michael Wilson's big day versus the Green Bay Packers going to Christian Watson when they needed points. So, no, the targets weren't there for Watson. However, like you said, the Packers are going to him when it's the gotta have it plays. They're
Right.
going to him, and I think those are going to be coming more frequently as he gets more acclimated back into that offense again. And you're seeing the receivers around him going down like, they're dropping like flies right now. So
Yeah.
he could be seeing an increase in work as we move forward. So if we can get more targets out of him, clearly he's a playmaker to begin with, so we don't have to worry about that. And once again, you got to reiterate that Michael Wilson is not going to be given this opportunity week after week. Most likely, this was the best week we saw of him. So I'll stick with Watson convincingly in this one.
Watson's rise has been dramatic, and it's coming because he's really upped his contested catch ability. We knew who he was coming out of North Dakota State as a speedster, maybe kind of a Will Fuller type, where if you could hit him in stride, you were in business, and anything else, you were in trouble. He diversified that route tree. But importantly, he's catching 70% of his targets, and B, being targeted on average 23 yards downfield. So even if he's only getting 4 or 5 targets a game, he catches 2 or 3 of those, and you are in business. Whereas a guy like Michael Wilson has been a non-factor through most of the year, needed the Maserati Marv injury to really show up, and then even then had this massive performance in a true blowout. And sure, that's going to happen a bunch to these Cardinals, and he's still going to be useful. But I think I would prefer the playmaking of Christian Watson in this exercise. Next man up, he is 51% owned. Very different from Christian Watson, a short-range target out of the slot compared to a deep sideline threat, and he is the Indianapolis Colts' Josh Downs. Josh, who you got?
I'm going with Watson. They get about the same amount of usage in terms of targets, but the targets look drastically different. And for fantasy purposes, they are much more useful on Christian Watson's end than they are on Josh Downs' end. Both of them are dealing with competition from other receivers as well. But like I said before, I'll take the quality of Watson's targets over the quality of Downs' targets. So give me Christian Watson here once again.
Yeah, that heavy rotation in the Colts lineup means that Downs is only running about 20 to 30 routes per week. He's getting some targets. He's getting about 6 per game. He's catching about 5 of those. He's going to go out there and get you 8 to 10 points. He's steady. He's stable. But he's pretty touchdown reliant in order to really boost into the stratosphere, whereas a guy like Watson can make 2 deep throws work and really get you on the board, get you moving. And then some. On top of that, I think Watson's role is expanding and evolving in the Packers offense, where Downs, we barely saw him in Germany last week. And we do have some questions about Daniel Jones, 2 back-to-back kind of quasi-clunkers. Is he falling back to Danny Dimes status? Does he need the bye week to rejigger things a little bit, figure things out, or is he going to backslide back to the median? We'll see. The regression is coming for Indianapolis, it seems, whereas the Packers still have a little extra room to go before they hit that ceiling. I want Christian Watson. And finally, it all comes back to the Patriots, because everything the NFL does. Former New England undrafted free agent, current Jacksonville Jaguar, Jacoby Myers, 73% owned. Josh, do you want Christian Watson or do you want our former boy Jacoby down in Florida?
PPR leagues, I'll go with Myers. If we're playing half or a standard, I'm staying with Christian Watson. I do think the opportunity is going to be there for Myers to build on his rapport with Trevor Lawrence moving forward. They have a decent schedule to the finish of the season. And I just think that he's going to try to build a case for somebody to sign him to a long-term contract. Remember, that's the whole thing with him wanting to get out of Vegas to begin with. He wasn't happy there. He wanted an opportunity somewhere else, and he's looking to sign long-term with somebody eventually. So he's playing for a contract right now. So if it comes down to it, I would take him. But this is, for me personally, this is a coin flip in terms of talent. I think both of them will provide a decent ceiling. I think they're going to get there different ways. Myers will be obviously more of like a dink and dunk type of guy versus Watson with the big hits. but either way, you can't really go wrong. But if I'm going with format and it's PPR, I would say I'd lean towards Myers.
I would go Myers as well
Mhm.
in both formats, I think, just
Oh, okay.
because what we saw in Jacksonville against the Chargers was Jacksonville ran right the hell over LA. But
Yeah.
B, that created so much space for Jacoby Myers, who was the de facto wide receiver one there. His 4 yards of separation per target, the highest of the season for him. He played more snaps, ran more routes. He's getting acclimated to that offense. And he made hay while the sun shined. I believe it was 6 targets, 5 catches, or maybe 7 and 6. I got to go back and take a look at that. It's in there somewhere. At any rate, this is a guy who I think is going to get the keys, right? He's going to be the man Trevor Lawrence relies on because Travis Hunter is gone. And Brian Thomas Jr., even when he comes back, a league-leading 9 drops. You need someone reliable in that offense to move the chains, to keep the space open for that run game, to make life easier for Trevor Lawrence. That is why you go out and trade for Jacoby Myers, who, like you said, contract year. He is going to show out and give teams and general managers something to think about this upcoming offseason.
And just to point out, I do believe that he is going to be the receiver that takes over what Travis Hunter was supposed to. Like the whole buildup was Travis Hunter out of the bye was going to basically usurp Brian Thomas Jr. as the focal part of the passing offense. I think that Myers is kind of just going to step into that role that they had envisioned for the rookie Hunter at the time. So should work out.
With the trade deadline approaching quickly, I mean, maybe your league already had it. Ours, the Rhode Island Scumbag League, it hits right before week 12.
Don't forget, November 22nd is our trade deadline.
Which players would we sell high on in order to extract the most value before a playoff push? Yash, I got my guy. I want to hear your guy first, though.
All right. Mine was a guy I'd like to try to acquire versus ship off. So I think we're gonna go in little opposites today. So personally, somebody who I think you could get at a depreciated value and could be beneficial for you down the stretch due to his schedule would be the one and only. Please just give me the ball, AJ Brown. I know it sounds kind of gross.
Going on Twitch streams to tell his son how sad he is.
Oh my goodness. I mean, let's be honest. We all know he'd be happier wearing the jersey that's hanging behind me currently. But listen to the schedule down the stretch. Dallas, Chicago, Chargers, Vegas, Washington, Buffalo. So for the fantasy playoffs, Vegas, Washington, Buffalo. I'll take a chance on Brown, especially at his. You're not going to have to give up a full second round pick value for AJ Brown in this case. So if you want to swing for the fences, kind of send a deal out there, maybe the AJ Brown owner is somebody who is hovering around 500. Throw him a couple decent players, maybe a wide receiver 3 and an RB2 could get you AJ Brown, and that could end up paying dividends in the playoffs for you. So that's my buy low. Is AJ Brown. What do you think? Who's going to be your sell high?
Well, one, can I say I appreciate you taking the whole concept of this segment and completely throwing it away in order to talk about AJ Brown. Great work, Yash, as always. But no, the guy I would trade to bring in AJ Brown. See, I can tie things back together.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Javonte Williams for me. I love the story. He's a guy that looked like he was kind of on his way out of the league the last 2 seasons with the Broncos. Got a huge opportunity in Dallas, took care of the dysfunction there. You know, they didn't want Rico Dowdle back, so Javonte Williams steps into that RB1 role, and he's been killing it, but cracks are beginning to show. He's had a negative rush yards over expected in 2 of his last 4 games. One of those games was against the Broncos. That doesn't matter. The other one was against the Panthers, which is a little bit more concerning. He's bringing waning value in the passing game. And right now, he's a guy who still looks awesome at face value. And if you're not digging too deep, you look at those numbers, you go, no, this guy's going to give me 15 to 20 points per game. Why would I trade him? But you look at the trend line, it's starting to go down a little bit. And this is a guy in the past has not been a game-changing runner, has not been an efficient runner. And he might still get tons of carries for this Cowboys team because who else they can give the damn ball to? But no, I think his overall impact is going to drop just enough that if you can sell high on him, you absolutely should.
And you know what? I will totally agree with you on that front.
Okay.
To tie this whole segment together.
Awesome.